Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech Low Life podcast with your hosts, Eric and Josh. Breaking news, we were recently accidentally included on a Signal chat where we learned that Trump's poopy bottom needs a wipe. Thankfully, Barron is en route for cleanup. Disaster averted. You guys like my...
has enough.
That's my Tonight Show bit I've been working on.
So we're just starting off with hot bits tonight. Good deal.
Anyway, I'm Eric.
I'm Josh.
And this week, seeing as we are covering a William Gibson novel, it is only fitting that we continue the tradition of having a wonderful guest for that. So welcome back to the show, Geoff from the Astronomica Podcast.
Oh, you guys got a wonderful guest as well. There's going to be 4 of us.
Yeah.
That's
funny if we did that though. Just ambush you with a 4th mic.
I don't know.
Colin shows up for his watch expertise.
That would be fun.
I love that idea. I would feel so bad, like for Colin into that. It's like, no, you don't talk about the plot or anything. I only want your commentary on the watch. Like, I need watch stuff, okay?
For the uninitiated, Colin is another cast member of the Astronomica Podcast, and he knows a lot about watches.
He is a horologist. He
Well,
also owns a watch.
He's not here to
repair
defend
shop.
himself. I was gonna say. Yeah, this book has some watch stuff in it. Get ready for that exciting shit. But first, we need to talk about Dystopia, which is, we put off recording this a day and then just got dropped a Dystopia bomb here on Monday, which I think they did that just for us.
Honestly, we got a couple.
Yeah, there's several. We're not going to spend too long talking about it because we've got a novel to discuss, but we got to talk about this Signal chat. It's too good. We got to find a way to make money off this.
I imagine the
cyberpunk.
the Warframe, or was it Warframe or War Thunder?
War Thunder,
game
yeah.
forums.
Yeah, War Thunder.
Are sitting over here like, what, am I a joke to you all of a sudden?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be the place where you drop government secrets.
I expect there will be a big retaliatory leak to restate their place in the hierarchy soon.
Yeah.
Begun these leak wars have.
I do feel like Donald Trump is fit for no other purpose, but he would make an excellent commander-in-chief of the leak wars if all the rumors are true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the supposed video that still remains out there in the ether. I haven't read that. Like, I only was really reading up on this before we started recording. So from what I could tell, several prominent members of the cabinet, including the vice president and Hegseth, what's his official title? Head defense dude.
Defense.
Secretary of Defense. I couldn't think of the word secretary. It was defense I had.
I saw somebody call him a DUI hire the other day, and I thought that was pretty apt.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they were on a Signal chat. Signal is not an official channel from which to talk about government secrets.
Yeah, and that
discussing
means you
war
can't FOIA
plans.
it. Yeah.
And they accidentally included a journalist.
Not just a journalist.
One of the editors-in-chief of The Atlantic.
Yeah.
By the time this comes out, this is going to be a story that's you're going to have heard a lot of, but it's breaking news to us, and it's fun to talk about it in real time.
Yeah, it's not just a journalist, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, which is I don't know, maybe a step down from an editor-in-chief of the New York Times or something in terms of prominent.
How does that happen? Like, I don't understand. Like, I would almost believe it was intentional because I don't understand it.
Well, if you're incredibly stupid,
Yeah.
that's first. Imagine you're
Is this a monkeys on a typewriter thing? Like they just happened to come up with his number?
I think there's two plausible things. One of which is like this guy has been in regular contact with Pete Hegseth as part of his job as a reporter, and so maybe he was like near the top of the frequent contacts, and when
just got fat thumbed,
or drunk thumbed, as the case may be.
Hegseth didn't put the chat together though, right? He wasn't the. I thought it was somebody else. I could be wrong.
Oh, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Or he has a name similar to somebody that was supposed to be included.
That was my other suspicion, is that like there's Pete B. Smith, and Pete C. Smith.
Yeah.
And the wrong Pete Smith got included on the Signal chat.
Well,
it's
that's some next level James Bond shit, some spy stuff that you don't see very often, but I guess that's how we do it now.
Yeah. I mean, like the head of, like China's adversarial ally intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
It's just sitting over there like, what? I mean, it's
not
even fun. Come on, guys.
What are we doing here? You're like, I've got all this budget I have to spend. Like,
yeah.
And they were discussing plans for bombing Yemen, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were bombing Houthi people in Yemen, so it's gone almost completely unreported for like 5 years.
Yeah,
but
it's been a while.
We have been, so the Saudi government has been conducting atrocities and genocide against half of Yemen's population using U.S. supplied munitions.
I mean, that's just something,
like you do.
Yep.
Yeah. The bad actors around the world love to do.
And we've been supplying them at or below cost for quite some time, but this is the first time we've stepped it up to taking a direct hand.
Yeah. Well, taking a clearly direct hand.
Do you think it's still going to happen?
There are piles of contractors and security consultants who all work for the agency over there, I'm sure. But
yeah, no, we bombed them. Like, it did happen.
Yeah,
I thought they were saying something that hadn't happened yet was being discussed in the.
Yeah, they're discussing future plans to bomb them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, and also rules, but it sucks that they're getting bombed, but it rules that their incompetence is on such grand display.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it really isn't when you realize that they're in charge of our safety. There's no way in which this rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also they aren't in charge of our safety. They don't give a shit about us.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
They do not make us safer. Like, this will demonstrably make things worse for everyone in the world, except for, Raytheon.
The Atlantic probably is going to be doing well.
Yeah.
They'll do okay out of it. I think the Atlantic of 15 years ago would have been in a much better position to not roll over and show their belly immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Years ago, I was an Atlantic subscriber, and they really have very much gone the New York Times route of like, they say trans people are bad. Guess we should investigate, are trans people bad?
Yeah, it's one of the, we got to cover both sides of the argument, even though one side is demonstrably wrong and jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Good times. Good times.
Was there any other dystopia we need to talk about? Like, my brain won't think back past today all of a sudden.
We don't need to. We've got more very fun dystopia today. One of the co-directors of the Academy Award Best Documentary Feature.
Oh, right. I did read that.
Yeah, whose name I am looking for right this second because I don't want to fuck it up.
Bilal.
Hamdan Bilal. Or Hamdan Bilal. Yeah. Yeah, it was a movie called No Other Land that is almost impossible to see in the U.S. because distributors are nervous about it. Because it's, covering the ongoing genocide of the Palestinians by the Israeli government. And in fact, there have been a couple of film festivals that shut themselves down rather than show it.
Wow.
Anyway, today...
It did win an Oscar, though.
Yeah.
You know what? I was shocked and surprised and very heartened to see that that they had the Academy of Recording of Motion Picture Arts has more integrity and backbone than most of the major journalistic outlets of
the New York Times previously mentioned.
Yeah. So just as a little backstory on what happened to him today, in the past, 4 or 5 days, Israel really cranked up their bombing and murder campaign again. You know, since the ceasefire ended, and I understand. This is breaking news as of 5 hours ago, something like that. The director was part of a demonstration, basically a bunch of Palestinian people saying, "Don't bomb us," and then a bunch of what have been described as settlers showed up, beat the shit out of everybody, and he was apparently pretty severely... the director was pretty severely injured, and then some soldiers showed up, stuck him in a van, and he has disappeared.
Jesus.
They pulled him out of an ambulance.
Yeah.
And put him in a van. And no one has seen him since.
Yep. So that's all cool.
And so they're called, settlers. Like, they are Israeli citizens who believe that they have a religious ordination to occupy the land that is, according to all law and treaty and everything else, belongs to the Palestinians, even according to the government of Israel at the moment. But so these people came in and threw people out of their homes, some of the few homes that are left standing in that area. This is in the West Bank, by the way, not in Gaza.
Yeah.
They've displaced the Palestinians so that they could occupy those homes for Israelis. Some of the people that were part of that particular attack against the director were wearing Israeli Defense Force uniforms with their insignia and names covered, in addition to the other civilians. And then the IDF officially came in afterwards to defend the Israeli citizens from the terrorists who were committing terror by standing in their own yards.
Which is something that happens pretty regularly and has for, 20 years at least that I'm aware of.
80
years.
Well, yeah, the current tactical version of that is the past 20 years. But yeah, they, you get a bunch of often people recruited from overseas, say, some, a Jewish guy from Brooklyn, say, hey, you can have some free land here. And then you gather a bunch of your best buds and then go kick down some poor fucking Palestinian guy's door and say, we're here now. And if they fight back, they are the problem.
And it's worth noting, too, that a lot of these, what they call settlers, do come from overseas because the Israeli citizens are largely majority against this sort of thing. So it is not an ethnic thing. It's not a religious thing. It is it is dressed in religious trappings.
Thievery thing. They're just,
but it's
thieves, right?
I mean, it's when I say it's not an ethnic thing, it is a genocide. It is.
Yeah. But like
one part of the process of genocide.
A big part of genocide is wanting to steal the belongings of the people you're genociding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
if it weren't
land.
a war zone, the West Bank would be, and Gaza would both be beautiful Mediterranean places.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mediterranean climate.
Well, speaking of people getting disappeared, that's happening domestically as well. Should we talk about these El Salvadoran prisons? That's pretty cool.
Oh, God, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, great.
The Venezuelan big finger quotes gangsters with various tattoos.
The Major League Soccer player who was disappeared.
It is more dystopian than I ever thought it would ever get in my lifetime. I mean, I knew it was possible, but goddamn.
One of them was a barber who had a tattoo of a razor because he's a barber.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'd lived here since he was 2, I believe.
Yeah. No history of involvement in any gang.
And no due process for these folks.
None.
Yeah.
It's important for everybody to realize, like, when immigrants aren't granted due process under the lie that due process is only for citizens, all they have to do is claim you're no longer a citizen, and you don't get the due process either. And all they have to do is just claim it, because once you're not a citizen, you don't get the due process to prove that you are a citizen. So
I explained that in almost exactly those words to my uncle a couple of days ago. He said, well, that's not a problem because I'm a citizen. And I said, oh, yeah, you're a citizen.
Until they say you're not.
Can you prove that right now to me?
Yeah.
And he said, well, yeah, I got my driver's license. No, that doesn't prove fucking citizenship. Do you have your birth certificate on you? And because that's all it takes. There's nothing to it.
You just get disappeared. And in fact, that may be less of a bulwark either, because Marco Rubio has apparently been in contact with the president of El Salvador, who calls himself, incidentally, the world's coolest dictator, about holding American citizens in El Salvadoran prisons.
Yeah. Trump's truthed about it. About protesters and stuff, sending them to El Salvador because they're terrorists. I've also heard, I haven't backed this up. I've heard rumors, so take it with a grain of salt, but that they're trying to reclassify fentanyl as a WMD.
Yeah.
So
that is in process.
Anybody holding large amounts of that could be considered a terrorist. And, terrorists don't have rights.
That doesn't require large amounts.
True.
Anybody who has a dose, anybody who has a joint that 3 steps along the line, somebody dipped in fentanyl to sell. Anybody who's possessing that joint is a terrorist.
Yeah.
Do not let the Democrats tell you that we're simply on the road to fascism, because the road is behind us. We are past the gates and in it, and it's fucking time.
We took that exit quite some time ago.
Yeah.
However, finally, Chuck Schumer wants to parse, oh, well, this is going to be the red line. Oh, well, if they defy a court order, that'll be when it's fascism. Oh, they haven't defied a Supreme Court order yet.
Yeah. And then when that happens, who knows what the next one will be. But the goalposts will move, rest assured, because Chuck Schumer has to keep getting his stock investment money every week.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
And he's launched a new book tour. That keeps him very busy. So maybe he hasn't kept up with the latest developments.
Yeah.
I will say it's nice to see AOC and Bernie touring and drawing large crowds.
It is.
I don't know how important that is in the long run.
I think large crowds are very important in the long run.
Yeah, I think it's better than nothing. And also,
these two specifically, though, I don't know if they're the answer, but whatever.
Well, they're not, but they're a hell of a lot closer to the answer than the other kind of available options.
Yeah, and the crowds do show that the rage is growing, and honestly, I think that's the only shot we have is,
oh yeah,
it's on us.
Yeah, and related to something that you said, I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, Eric, about how you weren't seeing the the big protests like we had in 17.
Sure. I might have said
or
that.
at least you weren't seeing coverage of them, and they didn't seem as big and I don't know, organized maybe. I actually saw a thing that I didn't have a chance to verify 20 minutes ago, probably, that some journalist had done some looking and figured out that even if it isn't getting the media coverage, there were effectively twice as many protests in February of this year there were in 2017. So
cool.
And
that's
that
good.
wasn't that's not even counting the Bernie and AOC stuff from
which is
more recently.
The problem with the 2017 protests is that they were huge, but they were also brief and they were convenient.
Yeah.
So they had minimal impact. It is nice to show a signal that this guy is opposed, but it needs to be coupled with something more concrete.
Yeah.
And so, like when the Selma marches happened for civil rights, those closed down a major artery into the capital of Alabama.
Yeah.
And that is why people paid attention.
I don't know, man. If it's inconveniencing people, that I don't think people.
That's
should
violence.
protest that
In
way.
my
It's
eyes,
violence.
that's violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
the cops' response is not violence, though. But just to be clear,
No, that's totally reasonable.
This is, by the way, simply a social observation and not an advocation. I'm not advocating for any particular course of action, but if they keep calling everything violence and repressing everything violence, sooner or later, actual violence will be the only outlet.
Well, yeah, there will be nothing to lose to commit it at that point.
Yeah.
If standing there peacefully gets you in the same amount of trouble than hurling firebombs, then people are going to start hurling firebombs.
I think one thing speaking of firebombs, that I think that's been nice is that we have seen there has been a lot of coverage of the protests, specifically at Tesla dealers and facilities, and locally. Locally, somebody had a little bit of fun with some cocktails at the Tesla dealership. And then it got some news coverage, and people were outside protesting some more. I think it was Thursday.
It's like a weekly thing.
And one of the employees came out and did a from my heart salute, I think is what they're calling it these days in the mass media. So yeah, everything's going cool and normal at Tesla.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I was behind a Tesla today with anti-Elon stickers, and I'm like, I'm not buying it. You just don't want your car key. I don't know. I know some Tesla drivers. They got in early. They didn't know. Cybertruck drivers, though.
Yeah. Don't let anybody with a Cybertruck sticker that says we bought this before Elon went crazy. Yeah. They didn't sell. There were no deliveries of Cybertrucks prior to Elon going crazy.
Yeah. I do want to talk more about Elon in the future. I still feel like he's what we should be focusing on because he's weak.
His chin, his hairline, his genetic stock.
Yeah, I mean he's received gender affirming care, so
yes,
lots of it.
I did hear an interview with him where he was like, "Who's funding these protests?" And I'm just thinking, motherfucker, it's like. I could make like 10 Molotov cocktails for $12. You don't have to fund this shit. Just like
that is one of my absolute fucking favorite things to observe in the
it doesn't cost any money
conservative media sphere.
Yeah.
They don't understand that it doesn't cost money to do this because the way that all of this stuff has rolled out on the conservative side, like all their giant protests for years and years about, I don't know, abortion or there's a black guy in the Oval Office. All that was stuff, all AstroTurf. It's paid. It's literally paid. And they don't understand that it is something people actually want you don't have to pay them to do it. Like, I want to not
Watch
get beat
Tesla's
here.
burn.
I want to not have my children's future get the literal air get poisoned in order to
that'd be nice.
fund the quarterly
that'd be
profits
cool.
of the Koch brothers.
Koch
No one has to
brother.
pay me to be against that.
Never forget, one of them is dead.
One of them's dead, so that's good.
I hate the remaining one twice as much.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
All right, this has been such a romp, but we've got to move on to the meat of the show. When Geoff's here, I could sit here and talk dystopia for 3 hours, but
I like that I have that effect on you.
you get me riled up, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna do recommendos, but I'm gonna limit us to one each. Josh, in the name of time, can you handle that?
Okay, I can.
Pick your fave. So,
shit.
Do
Okay.
you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Why don't
Shit,
you-
I have not prepared one.
Okay. Okay. Actually, okay. Here, I'll go first. I watched the other night a movie on Netflix. It's called Nimona. It is something we might have to do for the show at some point. It's an animated film. It is a futuristic fantasy world. I don't know. There's cyberware. One of the main characters has a cyber arm.
It's definitely science fantasy. I would say.
Yeah. And it's I had read some of the webcomic, I don't know, 15 years ago when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a really good and very well developed story. It is effectively it is a story about accepting yourself for who you are. And it's a very easy read into trans acceptance or LGBTQ, et cetera, or just whatever. And it is really good and utterly fucking shocking that this movie, it's a movie that was almost entirely done. It was like 80% complete, and Disney had it, dumped it, because they were uncomfortable with the content, which there is no sexual content in it at all. It's just,
don't forget to certain people the existence of
and then I can't remember which company, Skydance, picked it up and sold it to Netflix. It has some great voice acting. I think Riz Ahmed is one of the main characters, and the real focus character is Chloe Grace Moretz playing Nimona.
Friend of the show.
Yes, friend of the show.
Friend of one of the shows. I can't remember which one.
I don't know anymore, man. It's impossible to keep track of that shit. Anyway, if you have, it was entertaining. It was very entertaining for me. And if any of our audience has kids, especially say, I don't know, 10 to 15 range, somewhere in there, it'd be a very solid watch for the whole family. It's also about beating fascism. So,
yeah, it's great. I have two tween age range kids, and they loved it. They both had read the graphic novel previously, and the movie was a great watch.
Cool. There you go. Geoff, do you have your own thing you'd like to plug?
I do. I do have a recommendo. It's a book called When Women Were Dragons, and it is by an author named Kelly Barnhill, who has written some of the best children's books I've ever read. This is a book squarely for adults, and it is about when in the 1950s, a whole bunch of women in America just suddenly turned into dragons.
Oh,
okay.
And then it is the wake of that event in the world. And it opens with a letter that a woman who's about to turn herself into a dragon writes her mother, and just the opening paragraph. It is not from any place of sorrow that I write these words. There is no room for sorrow in a heart full of fire.
Rock and fucking roll.
Yeah.
That feeling feels familiar.
Yeah.
Yep. She wrote it in the midst of the Christine Blasey Ford hearings when that
weird, huh?
dipshit was being confirmed in the Supreme Court.
God damn it. I'd forgotten about that for half a second.
Good
Good times. Well, we love promoting drunken fondlers to high office in this country.
He was a DUI hire.
DUI hire, yes. I have a recommendo. It is check out the 2002 music video George Michael's Freak, spelled with 3 E's.
Yes. One of the sexier videos I've seen.
It's sexy. It's cyberpunk. It's really everything you want. Maybe we'll cover it one day. A boy can dream.
I really do think that music videos is a solid basis that we could do an episode on.
Yeah.
Well, you have to start with that one. It's the epitome of cyberpunk.
Yeah,
It is.
it really is. It doesn't get more cyberpunk than that video. And
Just
erotic.
Just the way his stubble was like razor lined.
Yeah, right around the goatee. Yeah. Good
Just
job, George Michael. R.I.P.
impressive. Yeah. R.I.P. George Michael.
Okay, that's probably good, right? We should probably talk about all tomorrow's parties, which I haven't even said the name of.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think.
true. Okay, drop in a Velvet Underground cut here, or if you want to do the Nick Cave cover, that'd be fine too.
But make it heroin.
Okay.
Just cuss.
I will not be playing any copyright written music at any point during this episode.
Is it okay if I just sing like Nico?
No, but not for copyright reasons.
What costume shall the poor girl wear?
Oh, well, that's better than Nico. So
Okay. Nico has a beautiful voice. The Marble Index is an incredible album.
Sure.
I'll accept no arguments about that.
Shall we talk about the book, though?
Yeah. Yeah. All Tomorrow's Parties, named after a Velvet Underground song. Written by William Gibson, published October 7, 1999.
I'm sure we'll get into it, but it just is amazing to me that this book was written in 1999.
I know.
Yeah.
It's my... I've, for 25 years now, my operant thesis has been that this is the last book of the 20th century.
Right.
And,
we talked about that before. I guess we'll get
And
into
that
it.
pattern recognition is the first book of the 21st century. Like, in a very real sense. I can't shake it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, unlike your assessment of Nico, I think that is really on point.
Dude, I am going to bring you to fucking tears when we do karaoke at Astronomica.
Like I said, you sing it, sure.
So why do you say that, John? I mean, pattern recognition aside, why do you say this is the last book of the 20th century?
Okay, this book is, I think, especially with a broader view. I mean, now, we're 25 years out, 26 years out almost. This is William Gibson saying goodbye to the future.
Okay.
This is the end. My whole understanding of this book is wrapped up in the fact that William Gibson spent this trilogy going like, okay, people took Neuromancer, the Sprawl trilogy pretty seriously, and it's had a lot of consequences. And then I sort of went in the same mode, but tried to be a little closer to current reality with this trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still it's still having terrible, I don't know. I think he realized, and this is always a danger, he realized that not his predictive power, but people interpreting his predictive power.
Yeah, he didn't want to
was
accidentally create the torment
dangerous.
nexus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this book is all about how I don't want to write the future anymore. The future is, we can't deal with the consequences of somebody writing a future and then some asshole immanentizing it. How about that?
We had no idea just how many assholes there were going to be.
I mean, he was an acute enough social observer, and even in this book, he directly speaks to that. I think some of what Harwood says, like I think he could kind of have a sense of what was coming.
Yeah, I think it's really a strong point in his work, and I don't know. I've certainly mentioned it on the show before. There are a handful of authors, like 4, that they are on the same bandwidth of the ether that I am, where all the stupid inputs from nowadays, Blue Sky and TV and movies and stuff like that, coalesce in their brains, and then
random
6 months
signal feeds you're added to. Sorry.
Yeah. And 6 months down the line, or a year down the line, I pick up the new William Gibson book or Nick Harkaway book or something like that and go, fuck, man, that is this specific item is something I was talking about and had a couple of week obsession about a year ago. In pattern recognition, my specific hit me like a hammer to the head when William Gibson starts talking about CURTA calculators, because 18 months beforehand, I was sitting at my desk on eBay going, man, I could, okay, I'm not going to up my bid. I simply do not have $253 to burn on a deeply useless mechanical calculator.
Would you say it hit you like a duck to the face at 250 knots?
Egg sharkedly, yes. A duck to the face at 250 knots.
Spoiler alert for pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Damn it. Now I'm not even going to read it.
So I think, he knows he's on a bandwidth that he can't help being on that bandwidth. But after this point, until 2014, he is writing books set in the recent past, within the past year or two of when he publishes them. And I think this honestly feels to me, this book is Goodbye 20th Century, which was a great Sonic Youth album, by the way. Go check it out.
Great Century. Give it up. Nothing bad happened.
No, it was all good shit.
All good.
And this is, a goodbye and a salute, and also a thesis on what he does. With the concept of nodal points. It's just, and also, okay, now I got to get into Fukuyama. So, 30 years ago, after the Soviet Union fell, a guy named Francis Fukuyama came up with this idea and it's called the end of history. And it's a very, very Western boomer centric.
That guy also got pretty problematic.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's an interesting lens to view very specifically how things in the 1990s and say maybe to 2010 makes sense. All these people, effectively everybody with power alive at the time, perceived of the entirety of reality as being focused on, is the West or is the USSR going to win? And once there wasn't a win, there was no win condition to it. It's just the USSR kind of lost and disintegrated. Everybody's brains broke because that's how they conceived of the entirety of reality. So he had this whole theory called the end of history, which is basically, it was it started as a couple of articles and then became a book length about, well, how do we decide what the world order and how reality looks to us now? And a lot of it's very short-sighted, like ridiculously so. But there was a level of existential malaise in the powerful classes in the 1990s where even if they were getting piles of money, they didn't have even a half-ass philosophy to back it up. Because for the previous 60 years, they'd had, well, we're not Nazis and we're not commies. So our whole thing can be making money. So this book is looking at the end of history, except it really is looking at the end of history.
Okay, so you think Gibson was affected by this guy? Is that what you're saying?
I think he was surely aware of that guy. I don't think he was. I definitely do not think he was a disciple.
Or do you think he's just a part of what the guy's talking about?
I think Gibson understands the deeper version of what Fukuyama was trying to come up with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
I also don't think Gibson is going to sign on to an eternal democratic peace.
Yeah.
Fostered benevolently in the benevolent bosom of loving capitalism.
Neoliberalism, yeah.
Yeah.
Free trade, that's going to solve all of our problems, right? Remember
you can't fight a war between two countries that have McDonald's in them.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's like legally impossible.
Okay.
Sorry, what'd you think of the book?
Mid. No. I mean, I say that as a joke. I mean, it's not my favorite of the Gibson books, honestly.
I think that's fair.
I liked it. I burned through it, but it didn't hook me in as well as much as the previous two in the Bridge trilogy, definitely. So I don't know.
I totally understand that. I don't know, in my mind, in the Bridge trilogy, Idoru is just about the hookiest fucking thing.
Yeah, Idoru was really good. As was the line, honestly.
It's just wall to wall, totally cool bullshit.
Right, it is. And I am a dumb monkey that laughs at shiny things and claps my hands.
So are we all.
Yeah, I mean,
We all are.
yeah. And this book is very much on a different fucking frequency. And that frequency is not for everybody.
That said, I didn't dislike it by any means whatsoever. I just finished it and I was like, it didn't. I don't know. It's the finale of the trilogy. I guess I expected to be left a little more sad that it was over, and I was just kind of. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe it's because I was listening to it at work, and I've been really busy. I don't know. Maybe it was the situation that I'm in.
I don't know. I get this book has in my mind, this book has a profound sense of melancholy to it.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I think like it. I mean, so one of the several stand-ins for Gibson himself in the book, Laney, spoiler alert for the end of this episode.
End of next episode. Let's be real about this.
he sees the future and perceives the nodal point, but doesn't know exactly what it means, and then dies.
Yeah,
unmarked. In a cardboard
box in a subway.
Yeah, the cardboard coffin that has been his squalid cardboard coffin that has been his home for a year. It's pretty sad. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, not to jump too much into the end of the book, but we have a little bit of cleansing fire and the hope for renewal of a unique ecosystem, and maybe there's a future. Maybe there's a future for these crazy kids.
Yeah, I disagree with your analysis, by the way, Josh. I don't think that this is the last book of the 20th century. I think this is just a book about a good old ex-cop who finds his girl.
Oh, Barry. I so love Barry.
That's another problem I had with this. My narrator, who was great in all other aspects, did Rydell like a tough guy, not like kind of a hick that all the previous narrators have done him as, and it threw me off. Like Rydell's a different person to me in this book simply because of how he was portrayed by the narrator, and that's
I can't even imagine that because
Yeah, Chevelle, you're gonna get in this cab here. See,
he'd like talk really deep and like really confident, and like all the other ones just kind of made him kind
that
of
is
drawling.
1,000% wrong.
I know, dude. It bugged me. Other than that, he was a great narrator.
I mean, I feel like he's got to have some kind of, like he's got some swag. He's got some of his.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Because he gets definitely is. A lot of people are receptive to him, romantically speaking. But
I think he's kind of fat, honestly.
Okay, you and the Cops in Trouble producer.
Yeah, that was such a... I'm not body shaming.
It's I don't know. Rydell has never once in the 30 years I've been reading these books read as tough guy to me, and just hearing you say that like throws this whole thing into a whirlwind in my mind. Like, no, that's a complete misinterpretation of the character.
It's the secret downfall of audiobooks, man, because like I said, the guy was great in every other regard, but it's just this one little misread or whatever, and it did kind of mess a lot of the book up for me, because I obviously love Rydell. He's great. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like him. It's just weird.
He's a paladin.
Yeah, he is a dude who is just kind of stumbling from one dumb fucked option to another and just trying to do what he thinks might be the right thing in the moment. He's not sure, but he's trying.
Yeah.
He's got too much empathy to be a cop. Like that's
right. I mean, he's the everyman, I guess. Most people would relate to Rydell.
Yeah.
But
I'm more.
That being said,
guy, sure.
Also, I guess
I know. Jeff's cool that way. with his loading long coat and smart material belt.
Well, you studied the relatable everyman ex-cop. I studied the blade.
I studied the Tao.
And I'm more of a Darius. Was that his name?
Durius.
Yeah. The whatever. Let's just let's start the actual recap, okay?
Great.
We have a cutoff.
An hour in.
We have a hard out.
Yeah. Okay. So, fuck it. Chapter 1, Cardboard City. This is a viewpoint character we've met before. It's Scooter, Shinji Yamazaki. Who
Scooter's like the R2 of this trilogy.
He kind of is, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
A student of existential sociology from Virtual Light and Edoru. And my first...
I was going to say, I was just thinking maybe it was 3PO,
Yeah. My first line of notes is, Scooter's back. We love it. We love to see it. And he enters a homeless encampment in an underground train station in Japan, and crawls into a cardboard box after applying a N95 mask, and finds a guy painting Gundam real good.
Leaving one carefully deliberate flaw in each.
Yeah, it's, I mean, like that's a really interesting line in this book from, I don't know, halfway in, 2/3. And I honestly think it didn't need to be written. Like, it's absolutely correct and perfect, but everything we know about the Gundam painter or the Gundam assembler already says that. This guy is fully into, the creative process. And he goes back to, I don't know, he goes through the Gundam guy who operates in the vestibule of the refrigerator box.
It's very confusing, but it's a nice box.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Don't clip that.
Keep that in, double it. Keep that in, double it. Add echo. So he then goes past a rug hanging from the roof, and Lainey is inside. who we remember from Edoru. And Laney is very sick.
He's different than he was at the end of Vidoru.
Yeah. Remember how at the end of Edoru, he was, going to go out to this, the cool Gomi Island that Rez and Ray were constructing to create the new world. And he's helping the Edoru out with understanding everything and learning. He's gone downhill a bit.
Yeah.
He's had what I would describe as my 2024.
Oh,
Are you obsessing over $1 billion? I guess you kind of are.
unwittingly.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. We're forced to. The motherfucker won't stay out of our faces.
No comment.
He is, as the kids would say these days, crashed out.
He is subsisting on a diet entirely consisting of codeine cough syrup, a Japanese hangover cure that includes liquid nicotine, caffeine, and aspirin, and also candy bars and 2 liters of soda. He's pissing in fucking bottles. It's not a great situation, and it smells like piss.
He's Howard Hughes in it.
He really is.
But not out of necessity, not out of weird obsession.
I like to think of this as Gibson once again being prescient and anticipating gamer culture by a good 10 years.
It kind of is. So
just empty bottles of gamer fuel all around him.
Yep.
Just nothing but a very fancy chair.
Yeah, one $10,000 chair in his cardboard box.
Yeah.
That's less comfortable than a $100 Walmart office chair.
Yeah. But you've got to have the right fucking posture to get your DPI. I don't know.
It's a mouse thing, so you're on the right. I think you're looking for KDR.
KPI?
Kill death
KDR?
ratio.
Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. Nerds. So, he's also on the
Nerds
run.
with a high KDR.
Sorry for being nerds on your cyberpunk analysis podcast.
Yeah, you should be. He made contact with Scooter somehow. It's not explained, but he disappeared, I think, 8 months ago, something like that. And then very shortly afterwards, Ray Toei disappeared, the Adoro.
Mm-hmm.
And
this made me sad because I really thought her and Rez were going to go the distance.
You really thought her and Rez were going to, work it out?
I thought they were soulmates. They were my Pacey and Joey.
My Barack and Michelle.
Yeah. Scooter tells him that she has disappeared and everybody's looking for her. Rez went off on a tour of the Combinat states via train for some reason. Shit's gotten weird. No word about Blackwell. He's I assume, off with Rez.
They're BFFs.
Cutting thumbs.
They're the real. They're the Jack and Jen. I'm sorry. I can't stop Dawson's Creek references. They just come out of me unwittingly.
Yeah.
They're the bees from Apartment 23.
They certainly are. So, Laney explains that the reason he left is that his stalker syndrome has kicked in.
Oh, that ticking time bomb that was in his head finally went off.
Yeah. As listeners might recall, he was dosed with an experimental pharmaceutical to, I think the intention was to cure ADHD or some autism, something like that. And it has some interesting effects, including his being able to comprehend large volumes of information in ways that are unusual.
Seems psychic.
Yeah, borderline psychic.
I mean, I think that it is explicitly called out as not being metaphysical or supernatural, but
it's just pattern
superhuman.
Pattern recognition.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this drug 5SB also had the effect of turning everyone who has ever dosed with it into a crazy obsessed stalker. And he had avoided that for 20 years.
One thing I do like about Gibson's books is how he makes he makes these things feel magical, even though they're explicitly explained as not being.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling is what eventually paved the way for stuff like Shadowrun, because magic just fits so nicely into the cyberpunk world.
And the Matrix, really paved the way for that.
Yeah,
like that's they give it a veneer of scientific explanation, but it's magic.
It's really it's really Gnostic bullshit.
Yeah.
which I'm not saying non-derogatory. Gnostic bullshit.
Yeah.
And his target, the target of his obsession, is a guy named Cody Harwood, who
not the Idoru, which was surprising to him.
Yeah.
Although he did fall in love with her.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, because
does everybody the second they see her.
Yeah, that's her. That's her raison d'etre.
Her raison d'etre.
Aha! She got that riz. Like that fat kid who eats Costco shit.
The Rizzler.
That's the
Rizzler, Josh.
Right?
That's a reference I wouldn't expect from you, and I'm proud of you.
Wow,
you did good.
Yeah, you got that hip lingo that all the kids are slinging.
Yeah. Cody Harwood, you might remember from Virtual Light. He appeared a number of times. I actually searched in my ebook for it and found he had, I think, like 13 references to Harwood in there. He was the guy who was throwing the party that Chevette stole the Virtual Light glasses at.
Mm-hmm.
And also...
I did not put that together.
Yes, he was also the guy that the glasses were eventually supposed to be delivered to.
Fuck, you're right. Okay.
Here's another thing. Go ahead, Geoff.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it comes out in this book much later on that the company that was attempting to enact the plans behind the Virtual Light glasses,
Sunflower whatever AG?
Yeah, it's his.
Yep.
It's him.
It is a wholly owned subsidiary.
It's almost like these books are connected in some way.
Almost. And also, it is not stated explicitly in this book. I have the strong suspicion that a character we're going to meet in a couple of chapters is the guy who was responsible for the murder of the courier in Virtual Light.
Ah, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Cody Harwood, he runs a public relations firm. He's gotten a couple of presidents elected. He's maybe the richest person on earth. He has...
Responsible for the repartition of Italy.
Yes. Yeah. Which comes up a couple of times and was also mentioned in Virtual Light. I'm sure I probably didn't bother with it when I was reading it, but he had been dating a Padanian actor. Yes. And Padania is the concept of an independent northern Italian state, like Cisalpine Gaul from the Roman period. He's responsible for...
And we're the nerds for being good at video games. Okay, Josh.
Yeah.
I did take notes on this book because I was given stern direction to step up my game. So,
your game is fucking perfect.
Yeah, I've quite enjoyed your game.
Yeah. He's very important. He's very rich. He's also kind of undercover. He appears tangentially in the media. I always kind of imagined him as Steve Jobs. Just, I don't know why, but he's not an extremely cool or handsome guy. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's probably the present moment, but the Kingmaker thing was making me think Elon, but everything makes me think Elon. So
towards the end of the book, there's a bit that's very, very resonant.
Mm-hmm. There's too much of this book that's very resonant. I know that.
Maybe that's why it didn't sit with me so well.
Yeah. So, Cody Harwood is the object of his affection. He has, in fact, wallpapered the interior of his cardboard box with photos of Cody Harwood.
Stickers.
Yeah. That he apparently, in a Hayes wandered to a kiosk, printed out, and then came back and stuck them on the walls. So
Like you do.
he's doing great. No missing time at all. Anyway, the important thing is, as mentioned previously in Idoru, Laney can sense nodal points. He sees a thing, if he is exposed to just a bunch of raw data, he can see things coming on the horizon before other people do. And these nodal points are the point of the book, really.
Yeah.
And he feels like everything is coming together for something to happen. And a lot of people are involved. Ray Toy, Cody Harwood, Barry Rydell, and also somebody who only exists in absence. People cross paths with a presence, and then they cease.
The man who isn't there.
Yes. In my notes, he is. I just started typing the ghost Conrad, because he functions as a ghost in Laney's vision.
It's pretty cool.
And he really wants. He knows Barry has a part in this, and he wants Scooter to make contact with him in L.A. Because, as you might recall from Idoru, Rydell is the guy who hooked Laney up with Scooter in the first place.
Yep.
Rydell only has a point of this because he dragged him into it.
Yeah, but
Damn it.
Maybe he would have gone there in the. Maybe
knowing the fucking future is just a pain in the ass. Is from what I've gathered from every story where anybody knows the future.
Kind of is.
I don't know. I think Paul Atreides living a pretty happy life.
Paul Atreides is the one guy that got it right.
He really did.
Dune Messiah is a really
spoilers
happy
for
book.
Dune Messiah, but it ends great for Paul.
Piles of skulls, people chanting his name, all going great. So he wants Scooter to get Rydell to San Francisco. And we move to chapter 2, Lucky Dragon.
I love the Lucky Dragon. I'm picturing it like a quick trip because I love a good quick trip.
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's
I kind of love and hate the Lucky Dragon.
Oh yeah, same with Quick Trip.
Yeah,
I also hate it. It is a garbage place for garbage people to go and get garbage food.
On the other hand, they have what you need.
I'm there every day.
Yeah,
as one of the garbage.
Yeah.
If there is a can for human garbage, I am in it.
Yeah, Barry's a security guard. Barry Rydell is a security guard at a Lucky Dragon on the Sunset Strip now. Lucky Dragon, a very nice convenience store. Owned out of Singapore. They got everything a human could possibly need 24 hours a day. It's exactly a convenience store. Apparently, this specific location was dropped in by a chopper in a vacant lot.
I love it. I actually think it's probably more analogous to like a Dollar General when you think about it.
Yeah, possibly.
In a more predatory. I feel like Dollar Generals are more predatory than
that is certainly true.
Gas stations.
Yeah.
At least gas stations serve the important societal purpose of giving you a taquito at 2 a.m. when you need one.
Yeah. But just think of all the stuff that Lucky Dragon does. It'll give you a toy that your uncle bought in Paris at 2 a.m. Soon.
Eventually.
They've got notary services. They got everything.
Apparently they can't fax you a muffaletta, but or maybe they can, but you get kicked out for asking too mean.
It's one of my absolute favorite lines in the whole fucking book. Because that is exactly the situation I would find myself in at 3 a.m. What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
You've literally the global, everything in the globe you can get.
Not a goddamn egg puck for my McMuffin.
I feel that pain on a deep and acute level, my brother.
Yes. So they're based out of Singapore. All these Lucky Dragons have these towers of monitors out front that just switch, like, I don't remember what the time was. Not a minute, like 30 seconds or something. two different stores where you can see the exact place you are, but it's in Paris or Sydney or whatever. They're a huge company. They're very important. And
Stuffer Shack.
It is. They were shuffled every 3 minutes for the practical reason
3 minutes,
that it had been determined if the maximum viewing time was any more, kids in the
People
world's
would be
duller
fucking.
suburbs would try to win bets by having sex on camera.
Yes. So, Barry's a security guard for him. It's seemingly not a great life, but he can live with it. I mean, he's just doing what he needs to make fucking rent.
Yeah, he's just like you and me.
Yeah.
You just got to fasten on your neon pink fanny pack and do what needs to be done.
Yeah, chase away the cross-dressing or trans prostitute that shows up, because just move down the block
politely.
A few feet. Yeah, you move down the block a few feet and then come back in like 5 minutes when I don't patrol anymore.
Yeah, it's the good kind of security guard that's like, just don't do it in front of me. I don't care.
Yeah, and this chapter actually has a ton of fucking sociology in it, talking food deserts, and all sorts of like these like Dollar General, these predatory companies that show up, drive everybody else out of business, and then they're the only place you can get anything.
That is Dollar General to a T.
Yeah.
A block level Walmart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I put a note in my notes about how something really interesting that I've been thinking about quite a bit recently is, since the pandemic, I have noticed that we used to be a country. We used to have 24-hour businesses about every third block.
Yeah.
And now
true.
it's only gas stations.
Yeah. Denny's isn't even, well, I think Denny's still is, but IHOP isn't.
IHOP isn't. Fucking Village Inn isn't. Waffle House is about the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I think when Waffle House goes dark, that's when the automatic CNN end of the world message kicks in.
The Gremlins 2.
Yeah.
The Daniel Clamp.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you covered it on the show, but that is an actual tape that Ted Turner had made.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's occurred to me a couple of times in like the past 6 months. Like, man, within like 6 blocks of my apartment 10 years ago, there would have been 4 places where I could have gotten fucking eggs at 3 a.m. and would have never occurred to me that it wouldn't be the case. But yeah, that's just how it is now. It's very weird.
You can always go to the riverboats, Josh. They're always there for you.
I think I will take my chances at fucking Waffle Houses instead, because I've never had a bad fucking meal at a Waffle House. I've had some bad eggs at goddamn casinos. So, yeah, Barry's just surviving. He's security. He's got a cool fanny pack that is bulletproof that he pulls up as a lobster bib.
That's pretty neat.
He picked up a cool ceramic switchblade that somebody dropped when they were getting stabby in the store, and he had to kick him out.
Getting
He's
lateral.
nervous to put it in his pocket.
Yes.
It's a problem I've always had with switchblades.
Yeah.
Where would you keep it?
The failure modes are not great.
Yeah.
like there are a couple of very distinct failure modes with a switchblade. One is you accidentally stab yourself by the button getting pressed when you don't mean to. And the other is you want to stab somebody else and the blade doesn't come out.
Yeah.
I think they are second only to butterfly knives in terms of 14-year-old boy self-inflicted wounds ratio to actual utility.
Well, the main purpose of a butterfly knife is to inflict damage on yourself, because nobody's using them in self-defense. They're just using them to look cool and cut their hands off, fingers.
Hey,
I blame Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Was it 2, 3, 4?
2 maybe? I don't remember. So, yeah, he's got a coworker named Darius, seems like a good guy, and he, ends up ending the chapter as his break is ending after he's chased a, some sort of non-cis sex worker off. Apparently he's got a phone call from Tokyo. Ooh, who could that be?
Fancy. It's probably some rich guy in a super nice hotel room.
Almost certainly. Chapter 3, Deep In.
Probably some rich guy in a super nice hotel room. Next line, Laney hears his piss gurgle into the screw top plastic beer bottle.
This chapter actually forms a big part of my, it's kind of the basis for my thesis for the book. It is a ton of material on how Laney considers the stalker syndrome to be separate from him.
And
he does.
By extension, kind of the nodal point thing as being something that he can get to, but it's not him. And
like an implant almost.
Yeah. And I think this is a lot of William Gibson apologizing for / denying his role as a futurist.
We should have him on and you could ask him.
It's actually a really interesting thing because when I was reading it this time, it occurred to me suddenly that like one of the things that a lot of like sci-fi authors, these guys make a lot of money with consulting firms as futurists.
Yeah.
Like they're they make money from the books and stuff, but they make more money by showing up at small scale conferences twice a year, where some, multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation says, what do you guys think about this concept? Or
we've talked about this before, which is sad and scary.
It is. Yeah. And the thing is, I have never once heard of William Gibson doing that. And I think that's really interesting in the because, Neil Stephenson has made way more money off of consulting for shit than he ever has off of his books. I mean, he is on the fake boards of directors of dozens of fucking companies. And
he's a founding member of the Long Now Corporation.
Long Now, yeah.
That's a foundation, I should say.
Yeah, that's a fun one. We should get into that at some point. It occurred to me as very interesting that that's not Bill Gibson's fucking game.
Well, I mean, he started out like he was like, oh yeah, writing's a great scam.
Yeah.
In fact, like some of the way he talks about like his early writing career.
The whole fucking reason he went to Canada was to get girls, for God's sake. Pretend he's dodging the draft and get girls and smoke dope.
It also makes me, despite the fact that I have a congenital aversion to deadlines and am terrified of ever showing creative works to anyone, like I'm still consumed with envy. He's like, oh yeah, it was great. You just you'd like write a 1,000-word article and they'd pay you $5,000 for it. It's that easy. Just be a writer.
Yeah. You take some speed and then you've got an article. We get some more background on Harwood, which I already talked about. Basically this is the immediately before the call to Rydell. So, we'll find out more about that in a few minutes. And then we hit chapter 4, which is the formal absences of precious things. So a character that we don't know sees a woman on the street who reminds him of someone he's lost. She's gone long ago. And this character, who we will eventually know as Conrad, who I mostly in my notes refer to as the ghost, is described almost exactly the way that someone would describe William Gibson. Let me find my note or notes to read it. Thinning hair, small gold-rimmed glasses. Where is it?
Wolfishly professorial.
Yeah, and wearing the exact clothing that William Gibson wore in the author photo of Idoru and this book and like 4 other books. Because
the the one that really clinches it for me are how he describes the creases and seams in his cheeks.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that's a very distinctive trait.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like he was looking in a mirror as he was writing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. A gray-haired man, wolfishly professorial, in a coat of grayish-green, the color of certain lichens, who blinks behind the fine gold rims of his small round glasses and raises his hand to halt a passing cab. And then, it goes on further with a little more description. And he's also very clearly a Taoist, which is an interesting choice for what we'll come to find out is a motherfucking assassin.
Yeah, for his profession. I was job kind of. I don't know.
Yeah. It's and I feel it's kind of it's an intentionally slightly sideways version of the fucking ninjas, the vat-grown ninjas from the Sprawl trilogy. Like
Taoism was having a resurgence in 1999. I remember
it really was.
I was into it. I was reading the Tao Te Ching and everything.
There's a big, it was really tied in with a lot of like physics pop culture.
And also just general pop culture. I remember right around that time, like, those fucking. I almost wanted to call it a pop science book, but pop philosophy book, like The Tao of Pooh, where it's Winnie the Pooh and Taoism. And it was.
This was slightly earlier. This is probably mid 90s more, but he was probably, it was around that time.
Yeah, as a general rule, you want to assume that any book has taken a full year to get from the author handing his finished product to his agent.
Yeah.
But that was a hot thing at the moment, and it really, I don't know. Conrad's an interesting dude.
Yeah,
except
I think of him as like an inversion of Laney. He does not show up in the nodal flow. He doesn't recognize what that would be, but he moves according to the moment.
Yeah.
In the same way that Laney sort of mentally does, he physically does. Laney is like basically trapped, like cannot move, and he is the moving.
He has the curse of knowledge.
Yeah,
and Conrad does not.
And Conrad like has zero pop cultural awareness or knowledge.
Clearly. That's I think inversion of Laney is actually a really interesting way to look at him, and that makes a lot of sense.
Somebody did up their game this episode.
He's the he is the physical embodiment of William Gibson. Like he looks just like William Gibson, and Laney is like Gibson's brain.
Spinning off into, oh shit, I saw an episode of this TV show Cops. Oh no, that's going to turn into
That's going to run in perpetuity on deep cable 24/7.
So he's a very cool guy. I remember the first time I read this book being like, what the fuck is this? This guy sounds cool as hell. He's got a knife hanging by magnets under his fucking right armpit. Mm-hmm. And he almost murders like 5 people who, I don't know, brush by him because he's just operating as he goes. He doesn't have a guiding principle beyond the moment, I guess. Tao shit.
Dog.
He's just a cool guy who doesn't afraid of anyone.
Yes, exactly. He also has William Gibson's wardrobe entirely. But he's decided that this evening, after seeing the woman he lost at some point, he's going to go to the bridge because it's in San Francisco. And he goes to the bridge, and there's a fucking lucky dragon right there, right by all the tank traps that we got so familiar with Chevette dodging in virtual light. And a couple of people almost die, but he finds it offensive and enters this, what has become a tourist attraction to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 5, Mariachi Static. Does anybody know what
Also,
that chapter title is a reference to?
Real quick, Lucky Dragon showing up at the bridge is like, I hate to say it, but like Cape Side getting a McDonald's, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, bring it back to the creek.
As I always do, but it shows it almost is like a harbinger of the end of this place. It seems like to me.
That's the first indicator of another thing that makes this one of my favorite Gibson books. He is 1000% right. I don't know, 50 chapters in the future, 40 chapters in the future when Harwood starts talking about bohemias and autonomous zones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is 1000% correct and accurate to history and the future. And it makes me upset and I hate it, but it's exactly right.
I have an interesting note on that, but I'll wait till we actually get there in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not know what Mariachi Static is.
Eric, any idea?
No, not a clue.
It is a reference to a wonderful Warren Zevon song, Carmelita.
Oh, nice.
I hear mariachi static on my radio, and the tubes, they glow in the dark.
Yeah.
He needs to go score some heroin, but he's already pawned his typewriter, so he doesn't know what he's going to do.
Break into a car. That's what I do.
Yeah. Seems reasonable. So we're back to Rydell. He is driving up north because of the phone call from Laney. Fortunately, Durius was able to hook him up with a ride. He has to deliver a car and an alcoholic singer to San Francisco.
Fortunately for Rydell, no job that a coworker has hooked him up with has ever gone wrong.
No, that has always worked out perfectly.
I was thinking that as it was happening. I'm like, haven't you learned your fucking lesson, Rydell?
But he doesn't have a lot of money. He needs a fucking ride. So he's driving to NoCal with a guy named Buell Creedmoor, who is, I love Buell to death. I also want him dead.
Say, if you do, you suck. Because
he's a piece of shit. He's not. I don't find him to be a lovable slime bag.
No, I don't either. I just found him to be a slime bag.
Yeah, he is a very annoying, drunk fucking country musician. He is absolutely convinced of his genius. And he is also prying into Barry's, shit. We find out through this that Chevette left him for a TV segment producer.
By the way, I pictured him with a MAGA hat on the whole time.
Yeah, fair. But at the same time, he's literally never voted once in his life. Has no idea how.
Right, he's just in it. He's just in it for the identity. He doesn't really actually care about the politics.
Yeah, he is. We will later hear him described as a meshback, the same way as people were described as meshbacks in Virtual Light.
Yeah,
I
mean, it's with the MAGA hats. They might even be meshbacks.
Yeah,
most of them are.
Yeah,
made in China.
So it turns out Barry went ahead and quit the Lucky Dragon, and in retrospect, there's a section
he got
here
fired.
He quit and then was immediately fired, so he couldn't collect unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
His boss is a lovable scumbag.
Yeah. But on the upside, he did get some cool fucking GPS goggles from Praise God. His
Praise
coworker.
God. We didn't even mention her. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great name for a character. What's her last name?
Shit.
That doesn't matter.
I think I wrote it down. Praise God, Satan's Bane. Obviously.
That's right. Satan's Bane.
That's
I knew
right.
it was something sick.
Yeah, she's children of she's the child of Christian fundamentalists. Most people nowadays just think she's a Satanist when they hear her name because
I didn't realize that Bane means the enemy.
Yeah. And she was really nice and, working to get into being part of a society and had a good laugh.
In my mind, she's part of the same. She's part of an offshoot from the TV worshipping.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
My one real criticism of this book is that we didn't get Barry's coworker from the first book at all.
Yeah, he was cool. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to have succumbed to violent allergy.
Looks like,
Yeah,
looks like a
he was
fucking
very
Nazi
fragile.
with silver eyes. A Nazi werewolf with silver eyes.
He was very fragile, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so are most Nazis.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
So, yeah, she, praise God, gave him, snuck him some GPS glasses and was sorry to see him go. And we also get a good, 2 pages on Barry was very depressed and didn't have the language to express it at all. He would spend his breaks throwing rocks at a wall behind the store and just watching the rocks get swallowed up. And boy, it fucking resonated with me. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Chapter 6, Silencio.
I just he knew he didn't want to think about that. Just drive, he told himself.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And that, he didn't want to think about that. He told himself, just podcast. Just podcast. Guys, having a rough time. So, chapter 6, Silencio. Silencio is a teen? Question mark?
Kind of up in the air.
Unclear.
Definitely the mind of a young person.
He's he's clearly neurodivergent in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I read this. I read Silencio as being autistic.
Yeah, somewhere on the spectrum. By and large, nonverbal.
Yeah,
except till the very spoiler alert.
Yeah, he hangs out with 2 muggers, Raton and Playboy. Is that right? Yeah,
the heroes of our story.
Yeah, the heroes of our story. Playboy might be his dad. He's not sure.
That's so sad.
Yeah, because Playboy sometimes buys him a sandwich of his own.
Why do these muggers hang out with this kid?
My suspicion is that Playboy is his dad.
Well, also he's useful to them because he can carry drugs and weapons, and the cops won't pick him up because he looks too young.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess it is helpful to have a child in your crew.
Yeah. And his life is bad. They live in Los Proyectos. They sometimes bathe, rarely. Raton and Playboy use a lot of the black and the white. So dancer and heroin, to kind of balance it out. Speedballs, like you do.
Belushi in it.
Yeah. It's not a bad gig if you can get it.
I think it's a bad gig.
The problem is sometimes you get it and then it gets you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nearly always.
Yeah, it's...
I don't know. I think I'm special.
It sounds like a skill issue to me. I feel like I can balance these doses.
Chris Farley couldn't take it, but I can.
Yeah, literally everyone else who's ever used it just can't handle their shit. But I'm built different.
I am built fucking different. And yeah, he lives an extremely sad existence. So they're going to go out to the bridge, and they're broadly muggers. They threaten people. Occasionally, Raton cuts them because they weren't sufficiently scared, and I guess to make sure other people know that they stab people. Raton and Playboy decide they're going to head out to the bridge and mug some tourists out there, and they run into the Conrad, the ghost that we met, 2 chapters ago. It does not go well for the drugged up fucking muggers as compared to the Dow Flow assassin who barely even pauses at their existence.
Yeah. I was talking to Eric off record earlier. This book is one of Gibson's most visceral fight sequences.
It is.
There's some in here that even 25 years on, I'm like, oh yeah, he decided to invest in how unpleasant this level of violence is.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is really one. Breton and Playboy hardly last a second. Once they theoretically corner the ghost in an empty stall, and then they cease, and that's it.
Yeah.
They find out after having fucked around.
Yeah, they picked the wrong guy.
Always a problem with mugging.
It really is.
That's why I recommend break into cars.
That's why I recommend
home invasion. The crime for the 21st century.
No, home invasion. You're still gonna run the risk of the guy's got the shotgun under his bed. There's never anybody waiting in a car.
Meme coin pump and dumps.
Oh, now we're talking.
Hawk Tua, baby.
It's a victimless crime.
It truly is,
Yeah,
honestly.
It
It honestly really is. So yeah, it doesn't.
Our
go well
president's
for
doing
him.
one. Sorry. Just thought I'd point that out.
It really is. It's and boy, the there's definitely there definitely shouldn't be an SEC
Let's get rid of
SEC interest in that.
I thought you said there shouldn't be an SEC, and I was about to say,
Yeah,
well, the
I was
president
also
would
true.
agree with you.
Yeah, also true. Boy.
Ooh, we're in danger.
So Silencio witnesses this, and I can only imagine this in terms of a film where Silencio peeks up from behind some pallets and just has like a couple of drops of blood across
his face.
Yeah, across his face, and Conrad just considers him, and then we cut to a different scene.
Yeah,
and that different scene is Share House.
That might be another issue I have with this book. Actually, there are so many POVs that
There are a lot. You want to know how many?
It gets confusing. How many?
8.
Wow. Yeah.
And I can tell you the exact proportions of the novel that they are.
I'd say that for the end. That sounds like a good.
Yeah.
You gotta post a picture of your cork board with red yarn.
Yeah, that's and your pie chart. I think some of these there's going to be some visual aids.
Yeah,
with this, maybe for the episode 2.
I'm not denying I've got a problem. Anyway, chapter 7, chapter 7 of 73. We're 2 hours in, and we're back to Chevette. We love Chevette. You love to see her come back.
Yeah, she's
love
a hero
to see
with
her
different
walk
haircut.
away.
Yeah, also, yeah, certainly. She's
bike away.
God damn it!
I know
What
she's
is
not
that?
on a bike in this book, but I always picture her on a bike.
Yeah, she's a courier.
Yeah.
Even if she's not actively doing it, that's how she imagines things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's it. From True Lies. Ass like a 10-year-old boy.
Eric, isolate that.
Cut that. Chevette is currently living in Malibu. You know, she's obviously made it.
Yeah.
Except it's an abandoned house.
Oh.
Except, I don't know, there was some biological disaster a little bit off the coast, and they were using nanotechnology to clean it up. And all the rich people actually left Malibu, but they basically got students to rent the houses from them to keep the people who would barbecue a dog in the fireplace out.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm picturing like Content Hype House vibes, honestly.
Yeah, it's not far off of that. And it's something that, in the previous 8 times I've read this book, never occurred to me because it didn't exist.
Didn't fucking exist. Yeah, that's what's crazy about it.
And now it's...
I mean, art collect, like little art houses, I'm sure did, which is similar, but the Hype House content creators are not art. I don't know, I shouldn't paint them all with a brush. Maybe some of them are artists.
I don't know.
When we start ours, they'll all be artists.
They will. Look, man, we're leading.
we had a house like that when I was in Oklahoma, and our art was smoking lots of cigarettes and eating inhuman amounts of pizza because one of us worked for Papa John's.
Hey, Josh and I had a very
nice.
similar experience. Only I believe it was KFC because one of our girlfriends worked at KFC.
Yeah. Yeah, we had exactly
what a universal
We
experience.
had a very similar house. That's a house firemen's carried people off the lawn from.
Yeah, we had a couple of more than a few weekends like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, she's living with a bunch of USC fucking media students. And in Malibu, and had a really bad breakup that she doesn't elaborate on at this point. And rides a Peloton trainer. I can't remember what exactly she says in the book, but when I read it this time, I immediately said, "Oh, she's doing Peloton," because Peloton
just calls
didn't exist. Yeah,
The trainer.
yeah. And it's, she's got some fucking goggles where she pictures the French countryside or a beach or whatever.
She's staying in shape. She's out of the business, but she wants to keep the muscles useful in case she ever. I guess she says she's never going to go back to it, but.
Well, and also, she's manifesting it differently, but she is also very depressed.
Yeah.
She rides this trainer 3 or so times a day for miles and miles and miles. Her friend Tessa, who got her the room in this house, which is actually a closet with a foam core mattress on the floor, wants to make a documentary about the bridge, because she's interested in interstitial spaces. And this friend also has these little balloon-hung camera drones floating around the house all the time, which seem to come into conflict with everybody else who also has little cameras all around the house because they're all fucking USC media students. It seems annoying.
Yeah.
They all have very definite ideas about media, which we certainly do not endorse on this program.
Of all the things in this book, this might be the most thing that exists today.
It is the most thing.
The most, just with the prevalence of drones and the prevalence of content creators and the need for people to cohabitate because the rents are so high. This is the most 2025 thing in the book, I feel like.
It really horribly is.
Yeah. Dystopia's here. It's not coming. It's here.
That's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. This book has a billionaire who controls world governments for his own benefit. I don't think there's much else with any modern parallel.
I don't know. I feel like this book, chapter by chapter, really, what feels most relevant, chapter by chapter, changes.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's whatever chapter you're reading.
And reality day by day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to find out that some fucking, some TikTok influencer,
maybe the Rizzler.
Possibly the Rizzler is now in the cabinet because Pete Hegseth has poor infosec.
That would be the shit.
He's
Secretary of the Interior Rizzler. What do you have to say?
He's going to put...
I give it 3 big booms. Boom, boom, boom.
He's going to put Phantom in charge of the IRS because he heard some guy say phantom tax.
Phantom tax. Yeah, okay.
This has been fun. Finish this chapter up so we can
finish the episode.
Finish the episode.
There is a parallel here with Rydell in the previous chapter where she is also feeling really bummed out about where her life has gone, and she tells herself, "Just pump harder."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But she is riding a stationary bike in an illusory world.
Yeah, it is exactly the same as Rydell throwing rocks against a nanomaterial that just absorbs rocks.
Yeah.
Neither of them are in a great place. But, here's the thing. Tessa comes in and interrupts her while she's on the bike. And it turns out that her ex-boyfriend, Carson, his truck has appeared in the driveway. And
Carson's not a good guy, from what I've heard.
Carson does not seem a good guy. He is. We'll find out a lot more later, but he is in the long line of William Gibson shitheel boyfriends.
Yeah.
He is possibly one of the shittiest of heels.
He absolutely is. But it's really, I think somebody could absolutely do a master's thesis on William Gibson's shitheel ex-boyfriends. Like it is such a running theme through all of his books. It's a really interesting point.
Streamer girlfriend.
Yeah.
Shitheel ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. So, but on the upside, Tessa says, my grant came through. R.I.P. all grants.
Oh, yeah.
In our
That's not very
reality.
2025.
Yeah. Her grant came through. She's got the funding now. If you want to head up to the bridge and you can show me around that interstitial space I want to make the documentary about, let's do it.
Let's go make some poverty porn, baby.
Hell yeah.
And Chevette's like, no, but also, I guess.
Also, I don't know. I don't want to see Carson.
Yeah.
Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm clearly hiding from him. And
and it's addressed like she doesn't know for sure that he would try to hurt her, but like that question in and of itself is
indication that he would.
Yeah, and how he well, spoiler alert, how he reacts when he does see her is very immediate.
Well, and it's I don't know, having had a couple of friends and acquaintances who were victims of domestic violence, that it almost immediately escalates from I don't think he would to he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not great. Let's go out to fucking NoCal and I don't know, you can float your little Mylar balloons with cameras on them and get the fuck out of here. And that's where we're at.
That's where we're at for now. We're going to come back and finish it up in a tight 90 next week.
Yes. Next
we
will be covering
90 minutes to cover 90% of the book.
We will be covering from chapter 8, the whole, to chapter scrolling 73.
You're going to figure out how to do it.
Oh, I can do it, man.
1 minute per chapter.
Look, I operate under pressure. Perfectly.
Minus the intro fuck around time.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to hymn that in because we had a long intro this week, which was
hopefully nothing will happen.
Yeah,
before the next episode.
Okay, let's talk plugs. Geoff, you have other projects out there. Do you want to tell the people what they are?
I do. I am a member of the Astronomica Podcast, which is a sci-fi actual play role-playing podcast. I play the weird robot, and my co-cast members are some really funny, talented people, and I think you will love them, regardless of what you think about me.
Look. Shut up, Geoff. Shut up. If you have listened to this podcast to this depth, you obviously love Geoff because about every third week, when listening to the podcast, in synchronicity to my headphones, say something exactly the same way that Geoff does. It is truly disturbing.
Well, and if you really crave listening to things that Josh would say on the Astronomica feed, you can listen to our bonus episodes a couple weeks back, where called Space Patrol.
Oh yeah,
wherein Josh plays the intrepid, a effete scion of a noble Neo-Roman family, and does a pitch perfect, note perfect job. It is fantastic.
That is bonus Maximus to you. Yeah. And I was deeply embarrassed listening to the intro to that episode. It made me feel so uncomfortable hearing you talk about how good I was.
Well, but that was a bonus for me then, that I got to make you get comfortable with it. So anyway, weird that we're getting discursive now. But,
weird, all right.
That's my plug. Listen to the Astronomica podcast.
Yeah, check them out. I mean, we've had several of them on at this point. You've probably checked them out, but check them out again.
We're gonna have more, god damn it.
All right. Yes. Also, we have stuff too. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/hightechlowlife. We have a Blue Sky High Tech Low Life on there. We got email, hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com if you want to yak at us. And that's about it.
Yak. Don't talk back.
That was a current reference, Josh.
It was.
It feels like we're not early enough. I mean, we're not deep enough into the book that you could have a quote, but if you have one.
Oh, fuck. Sorry. In the funk that had started to come over him, out back there on the breaks, he'd collect a handful of rocks and stand there, throwing them as hard as he could into the polymer. They didn't make much of a noise when they hit, and in fact, they vanished entirely. Just ripped straight into, and then it sealed behind them, like nothing had ever happened. And Rydell had stared, and Rydell had started to see that as emblematic of broader things, how he was like those rocks in his passage through the world, and how the polymer was like life, sealing over behind him, never leaving any trace at all that he'd been there.
Weird that you get depression from that.
Going out on a upbeat note.
That's one of those information hazard things.
All right, everybody. See you next week. Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
This has been the High Tech Low Life Podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Everybody, hide the planet! Hide the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.